Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Friday, the 17th day of January 2025, Friday of the first week of the year, the first week in Ordinary Time. It is also the day on which we celebrate the memorial of Anthony of the Desert. Anthony, the abbot, Anthony, one of the first Salvataries, again, who leave the cities, the urban areas of the Roman Empire and move out into the deserts to be able to experience more intensely the power of Christ, the power of God that comes from Christ, that resides within Christ, and to, from that experience, be able to attain wisdom or attain understanding of our human condition and our human lives. Again, Benedict of Nursia will take this up and kind of refine it and put it together in more standardized form, in a more formalized way. But Anthony and others like him begin this whole procedure of fleeing the urban areas with all of their enticements and distractions, whatever it is, to be able to sort of be one with God. Was this a good thing? Was this not a good thing? Again, Jesus goes to the deserts himself to be able to pray, but then returns. He does not necessarily go to the desert and then basically say, I never want to see you people again in the urban areas. So the understandings of faith, the understandings of how faith is best practiced, are still being ironed out again in these early centuries in which Anthony lives. He probably about 200 or so, maybe 300 or so. I think are his dates. But again, it is this great question: is it better to be? Is it easier to believe and to be a holy person when nothing is distracting you, or is it possible to be one amidst the distractions? And is that a stronger faith when you don't have when you have to deal with the distractions and you don't have to deal with all those other kinds of things? So something to think about today as we move towards the end of this first week of the year. So still in Kansas City, you can see downtown behind me, Union Station over here. People are arriving for this playoff game, which I will be glad to leave because we don't want the Chiefs to win. No, I just said. And I'm wearing red. I know I'm wearing red. I can't help it. I wasn't realizing what was going on. So it's the red that's in the blue, that's in the stripe in the Bills insignia. We'll say that. So the last day of our assembly just takes place this morning. Thankful for all of your prayers that you have offered us this week as we began to think about the mapping of a new course for Holy Name Province, for Our Lady of Guadalupe Province. Again, not just with friars, but with all of our lay partners, with Franciscan sisters, with all kinds of people. Again, to show that this mission that Francis began was not just limited to vowed people, to quote-unquote religious people, but is for everybody, for all men and women to be able to embrace, to be able to take part in, and to share in, and to further God's love, God's righteousness, God's peace, God's forgiveness, all those wonderful things, again, that make the good news the good news. So our readings for today, special ones for Anthony, if we were doing Anthony, but the readings for the day, Hebrews continues, in which there is this interesting kind of discursus on what does it mean to rest, and what does it mean to enter into God's rest? Again, something that concerned very much Judaism. What was the Sabbath? How to do the Sabbath? How to best embrace the Sabbath? Was it to do nothing? Was it just basically to kind of stand in suspended animation? Because the understanding of that seventh day of creation is that God rests to enjoy. God rests to see the beauty in. God rests so that, again, the distractions of working and whatever it is don't get in the way of what truly matters and what's truly of value. So in this part, the author of the letters to the Hebrews is trying to tell the Jewish convert, the Jewish people are coming into the faith, that again, what resting is embracing the wonder and beauty of who and what God is, the wonder and beauty of who we are, the wonder and beauty of this world that we have been given to make something out of. That's what this day of rest is. Nothing in there per se about giving obligation to God, that God needs a pound of flesh at the end of the week, and that's how you keep Sunday, that's how you keep the Sabbath, that's how you keep the day of rest, is make sure that you make God happy, by singing badly and giving half-hearted prayers or whatever it is. It is to enjoy beauty and wonder. It is to enjoy all of these things that God has given us because God was enjoying it, because God liked it and saw that it was very good. The gospel for today, we now hear the first of the rumblings of opposition to Jesus or suspicion of him. This man who was paralyzed, who was brought into a house that is packed with people wanting to be with Jesus and hear him and listen to him. Jesus says, your sins are forgiven. Now, again, it's an interesting kind of thing to say to somebody who's looking to be healed, of a sickness or a malady or whatever it is. But in Judaism, again, it's important to remember that these sicknesses and maladies and problems with ourselves were thought to be brought on because we had sinned against God and against, what is that God wanted us to do and wanted us to be. And so basically, don't do God wrong, or else God is going to smite you. And that's kind of what, unfortunately, is in this poor man who's paralyzed his life, is believed. So Jesus, again, knowing that there is this opposition or this suspicion of who and what he is and what he's doing around him, basically says to the man to prove, again, that God is not one who smites. Your sins are forgiven. To which he gets the opposition from the scribes and Pharisees. Only God can forgive sins. How can you do this? What are you saying? And then he basically says, well, what's easier to do? Say your sins are forgiven, or get up and walk? So I'm going to say, get up and walk. And the man does. And that's where the beauty, of this moment is. You get a God who's not going to let our ideas of what is justice and what is justice and righteousness, our ideas of what it means to be loyal and devout and faithful, our ideas about what it means to be holy, and all those other kinds of things we pack into trying to make people into what they don't need to be or they shouldn't be, that God doesn't work with that. God doesn't need to use that. Get up and walk is all that we need to be told. And that is something that we need to be told to walk into that future that God holds in front of us. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. A last day from Kansas City. May the Lord give you his peace.